So, we have reached the finale of One Punch Man Season 2, for better or for worse.
This taste. It's the taste of a liar. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Oh my god.
Oh god. So, I guess technically I would be tasting myself because I was wrong in my presumptions of how things were going to go down. Though the end result is still the same. It just didn't play out the way I expected it to. So, here is more or less where we're at. Garo gets his ass handed to him. We don't really need much to go on here. He kind of gets a Super Saiyan Rage boost for half a second.
And speaking about that, I wanted to bring this up last week, but when could he go Super Saiyan God? Because his hair turned red and his eyes, like, bloodshot now. Like,
Well, I mean, I feel like the hair thing is because he like rubbed his blood into his hair
oh,
because he was bleeding
that
from the skull
makes
there for a bit.
that makes
And with his hair already
sense.
being white, I guess that kind of diluted it to like an orangish color.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, and then capillaries burst in the eye.
I don't think part of the way through the fight last week he had the busted capillary. Only when his hair turned red, the capillaries seemed to take bigger effect.
It was right around that time because I think he got like pissed off, and that sometimes happens when you have like a huge emotional like outburst or feeling. I believe that's around the time when like sometimes the capillaries in your eyes will burst. Sometimes it's brought on by like heavy strenuous activity as well, which given the fighting he was going through, kind of yeah, that could qualify.
Okay.
In this case, he straight up gets a fucking rage boost because for half a second he destroys the ground to kind of scatter everyone for half a second. Here's an interesting bit to add though, because in the manga there's a little bit extra to this.
Of course.
So remember when he like he was chained up by Genos for that minute and he
Yes.
broke off that top half of the tree?
Yes.
He uses that to swing at all of the heroes there.
Ooh.
And that creates the opening for Phoenix Man to come in and like sweep him away.
Oh.
For whatever reason they left that out. I don't know, animation budget, who knows? It would have taken probably like half a second to throw that out there.
Since we have determined that the production schedule was a bit tight on this, and that's why the animation was less than optimal.
I still feel like they didn't put their A team on this like they should have, unless they were busy with another project or something.
Well, maybe Food Wars?
Yeah, the Food Wars doesn't take much animation though. Like they just make pretty artwork.
And it doesn't come out till October, so. Eh?
There's also a bit more of like internal monologue going on with Garo as well, besides just his flashback to like his shitty childhood.
And the fact that he was constantly bullied.
hmm I mean, it also kind of gives us a glimpse into like where Garo's at too, where it's like he's not a hero, he's not a villain. He says fuck evil to begin with.
Anti hero?
He didn't kill any. He didn't kill any. More or less, yeah. I guess you could call him that. That's the best we're gonna get. I don't even know if he would quite qualify for that.
Maybe anti villain then?
Maybe I'm not sure.
Because
He might be. He might be a full-on neutral party at this point
I know there
because he doesn't
are
fight for good and he doesn't fight for evil.
such
Like he's a
things
full-on third party almost.
as anti-villains, but I don't quite know the definition of an anti-villain.
I would think it would be the same thing. Like you still have the same root cause. It's just you go about it a different way because you don't agree with the mainstream way. Like if you want to take a look at like let's say Sonic the fucking Hedgehog for a second, Shadow the Hedgehog is an anti-hero. He doesn't go about the goody two shoes way that Sonic and the others do. He does things differently in his own way and for his own reasons. They just happen to coincide. And sometimes it's just because, he feels like it. But you look at Garo, he doesn't have that same. He doesn't have the same values in that kind of sense, right? Like he is on a third side entirely. If we look at Boku no Hero, if we look back at My Hero Academia, which I think never came out for us because we lost it during your hard drive crash.
Yes, unfortunately.
So during the Stain arc, would Stain be considered an anti-villain or an anti-hero? Because he's almost entirely against both, honestly. He's looked at as a problem, but that's because he's not with the Heroes Association or Society or what have you.
I
But he's not exactly a villain either,
hmm. I would say he's more anti-hero.
even if he's killing off heroes. Garo didn't make it that far. He didn't start killing them off, though when he comes back in season 3, who knows?
Maybe anti-villain then for Stain?
But is he though? Because again, he's not evil by like for any real reason. Like he's not outright evil. He doesn't target civilians needlessly, or at all. Actually, he just targets the heroes. Whereas Shigaraki doesn't give a shit. Everyone's gonna get sewn into this chaos.
Interesting to think about.
I would say Stain, and in this case Garo, there would be two characters that would be put in clearly a neutral space all their own. They don't seem to have that. They don't seem to align with either side. They're a third party as far as I'm concerned. Because both of them are kind of just straight up against the way that society's being run in general. And honestly, their ideals are very similar now that I'm thinking about it too.
And speaking about JoJo references,
Oh.
was the fact that Bang and Bomb doing the rapid fire punches to the centipede.
It might have been. It might have been.
I'm just
Especially
thinking,
because they were giving off like a JoJo-esque shout as they were doing it.
I'm just thinking, where's the aura, aura, aura?
One of them should be saying aura, the other one should be saying Muda.
JoJo references are everywhere.
Oh, they never go away. The question of, is that a JoJo reference? The answer is always yes. Don't even second guess. It's always yes. Wait a minute. Is that yes? Yes, it is. It's a JoJo. Shut up. The series has been around so long, it's just in everything anymore.
So Elder Centipede does come back.
Yes. Elder Centipede returns. What was it? Blast. That's the main number one hero. Doesn't show up ever. Again, he's used as a threat by King, which is interesting.
From what I understand, Blast shows up as a silhouette in somebody's like flash or something.
There was like a quick shot of Blast there for a second in at least the manga. I forget if the anime had it there, but he's like turned away from the camera. He's like 3/4 turned away from the camera. Like you don't get a good shot of him.
So Blast is like this mysterious top of the top hero.
Yep, pretty much. Which makes me wonder like where he went because they kind of reference him disappearing or something. Either way, Garo gets more dialogue in the anime in the manga. Sorry, more like about how he kind of starts coming to, I guess you could say, like a revelation after he goes through that flashback about where he actually stands, even if he admits that he doesn't completely understand it all. Like he comes to that conclusion that no, the way that society's run now, the more popular guy runs the show while the weaker and like hated person is just wiped out of existence essentially. He wants that to stop, which it's something you can get behind.
So is he at all like Stain from My Hero?
I would say very much so, because Stain was more on the idea of heroes making money off of being heroes. They weren't heroes for the sake of others. It was for their own monetary gain and fame and what have you, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the same here. And like I said in the previous review, where the A rank heroes were fighting him, they had the same mindset, more or less, of we're the shit tier at A, and the S ranks get all the special treatment and all this shit. You know, it kind of just reinforced that idea of like, no, the heroes are more or less kind of infighting to a degree when it comes to this whole ranking system bullshit. They're not heroes for the sake of being heroes, they're heroes for the sake of their rank right now. And they're, in which case they'd also get more money because they get more money when they're a higher rank. It's very similar in the same problems. Only this time, Garo, unlike Stain, Garo never meets someone that embodies the exact opposite of like what a good hero is. Had he met Saitama and understood Saitama, perhaps he would have seen it the way Stain did when he met Midoriya.
So, do you think we will get a Saitama Garo fight in season 3?
I don't know if it'll be in season 3, but it'll happen at some point. Technically, we've had it like at least twice throughout this season. It's just ended with Garo not knowing what's going on at the end when he wakes up.
I wouldn't consider those fights.
I would, considering they all end the same way Saitama's fights always end, with a single punch.
But the thing is, Garo survives these punches.
This is true, but that's because Garo's not, at least in Saitama's mind anyway, considered a monster. He's still human as far as he knows.
So it's like 10% strength for Saitama.
To be fair, that, you know what, you mentioned that. You want to know what that attack he uses when he takes out the centipede actually is? Because he announces it in the anime, or in the manga, not in the anime.
That's not Serious Punch, is it?
It is Serious Series, Serious Punch.
Oh. That was Serious Punch.
Yes, it was.
Ooh.
And it just, like, eliminates the damn thing. I will say this. The animation in this episode has definitely kicked up a notch, but it's gone from, like, generic 5 to, like, okay, this is kind of pretty good 7. It still doesn't reach Genos versus Saitama levels of, like, gorgeousness.
But did Bang and Bomb see Saitama punch the centipede? Or do they King did it?
I mean, when Saitama walks up to Bang, I'm pretty sure that he gets the idea that, oh, Saitama probably did that. I mean, I would assume that Bang, of all people, would probably be like, yeah, okay, it was probably him. But, you know, it could have been King, I guess, because King, like, he doesn't realize, as far as I'm aware, Bang doesn't realize that King is just, you know, a fish out of water, essentially.
Only a few people know that.
I think, honestly, it's only Saitama and King.
Genos?
Genos has no idea, as far as I know.
Oh. But now Genos will, because he saw Saitama there with King, so...
Well, yeah. Well, that's the other thing, right? Saitama, Genos saw Saitama, and he was in the pose of doing the punch. So if Genos saw him, I'm going to assume Bang and Bomb saw him in that pose of, like, having just thrown the punch.
Saitama will get to A rank soon.
Oh, that's something else I wanted to point out. So here's a little bit of dialogue that got skipped over too, which I don't feel like was necessary to skip over, really, because it could have just added it in. But there's a point where, like, all those monsters are coming out of the hole while Bang and Bomb while Bang is fighting Garo.
Okay.
Well, when they finally eliminate them all, what is it? Genos gets, like, this thought bubble in his head about how he can still sense monsters down there, but he can't sense where they're at. Turns out what he's sensing was the giant centipede.
Oh.
Because it was so massive he couldn't tell. But, like, small bits of dialogue like that kind of feel like you need to... It should definitely be in there to point out that, yes, Genos can now sense monsters. This is a thing that exists. Because it'll probably come up in Season 3 again.
Maybe they'll add it, like, oh, I discovered this power when you fought the giant centipede.
I mean, it's not exactly a discovery so much as it was something that was implanted in him. That's another good one, too, now that I've realized it. Genos gets a bit more dialogue, too, when he's actually fighting Centipede Elder or whatever. He gets dialogue more expressing how he needs to surpass his own limits. Essentially the same thing that Goku does every day of his life. how it's like, is it okay to just accept yourself, like, and your limits as you are? And the answer to that is, like, in his mind anyway, no, you need to keep pushing. Regardless of what weaponry he has equipped, he needs to push further than that. He needs to get 120% out of his weaponry rather than just 100% that's listed on the tin.
Even though his creator said, don't push yourself.
Yes, he says, don't push yourself, know your limits. He refuses. Also, there's fireworks going on. I don't know if the microphone's going to pick that up.
I
Anyway,
can't hear them, so probably not.
hopefully not, but I just heard a big bang outside my door
And this is
window.
going to probably be up on July 4th, so happy 4th, everybody!
You see all those fireworks out there? Yeah, Saitama's just punching them into the air.
I just remember, I forget what it. Fantavision for PlayStation 2. It was early PlayStation 2, but it was a puzzle fireworks game. More like a look what the PS2 can do type of thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it was a very early PS2 from what I remember, so.
Yeah, just display the power of it.
Yeah, look at these fancy graphics.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get back in while we have the chance, right?
Yes.
So, more or less, the episode comes around with what? Garo getting his ass beat. Garo being like, I could pretend and give them an act and give up, but fucking Genos over there isn't gonna let me go. That ain't happening. He manages to have his little Super Saiyan Rage boost and drive them away so that Phoenix Man can come in, take away Garo, and call in Grand Centipede Elder person or whatever monster. You're the fight between him and Genos. Genos tries to incinerate him from the inside eventually. Applause to you, Genos. You came up with a good idea, because that's the thing I was thinking of the entire time they were fighting it.
Yeah,
Like,
I also had that
destroy
thought.
from the inside.
Yeah, like, what if the inside's weaker than the outside?
Apparently not, because he can just expel the heat through, like, the gaps in his shell.
And he molts.
And he molts, yes. He just molted off his crappy skin. Oh, there was a little bit of dialogue mentioned when Bang and Bomb pull off that move of theirs where they say they can only do it once. They mention that it's because they're old and because they need a diversion so they can start up the technique to begin with, which is why Genos was there to attack first.
Okay.
So they needed some cover so that they could set up their technique together and then go in for it. So basically it was Goku, quick, grab Raditz over there so I can hit him with a special beam cannon. Except this time Genos doesn't get killed.
Oh.
He doesn't end up with a hole in his chest.
Oh no.
He just gets cut in half by the centipede later.
And he can reattach himself magnetically somehow.
I have to assume it's magnetics, because I can't imagine that there's like a backup system of just like, nah man, I can reattach no problem. Like, the clamps on the sides of the body are just fine.
He is now Deadpool.
No, he's not regrowing like baby Genos legs. He's fine.
I think it may have been Hulk versus where Deadpool gets his arm sliced off and then he just like rubs the arm back into place.
I mean, he hasn't done that in the movies yet, but I'd be more than happy to see that happen. He's just kind of regrown them from like baby limbs. So yeah, Genos blows him up from the inside. Doesn't exactly work. From there, what else did we get? We got King, I guess. It's like Genos gets spit out. Genos starts realizing, like, I'm not strong enough to take down these things. How many more of them are there? Blah, blah, blah. There's a good reference, actually, that he makes up where he compares, like, him being in, like, a military, again, like, in a war against these monsters.
Oh.
And if he gets beaten, he may as well be dismissed. He has a really, really nice, like, dialogue lines about how he's at war with the monsters. How he's part of this war. And it's a very interesting contrast, too, when you think about how Garo's like, no, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
This whole thing's horse shit, because I'm not on either side.
And he really doesn't seem to like the fact that Phoenix Man abducted him.
No, he doesn't, but he's kind of too weak to resist at this point, considering all the shit he's just gone through. Which I still think he should have fallen over way earlier at this point, but whatever. Plot convenience.
Yep, that's the main reason things happen, because of plot.
Yeah, but normally they give you a good reason as to why it happens, not just, well, the plot demands it. Like, a good writer gives you a solid reasoning for it. Like, My Hero does a great job of that, giving you reasons for why things go the way they do. Hell, the fact that Midoriya himself is such a great analytical mind and figuring out how to do things and work out a plan that'll work against other heroes or villains is a perfect reason as to why, because he'll shoot down any ideas that are like, no, that won't work because of this, or that won't work because of that. But maybe if we try it this way, we have like this much of a chance of making it happen.
I would like to see the Hero book make a comeback in season 3.
Oh, the one that was just that Gara was borrowing from the kid from time to time to look at.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a solid way to get your information, honestly. And no, the kid still had it at the end there when he ran off, so Garo doesn't have it anymore. But I mean, he could just walk up and buy it somewhere. Like, aside from the people that have witnessed him as a hero hunter, nobody knows who he is. Like, his face hasn't been posted in like wanted posters or anything. Nobody knows who the hell he is. So yeah, then we get King coming in, having learned, Bang's whole, or the Centipede's whole thing about the blast, and calling him out. Apparently, he called up the Heroes Association, looked for that. Oh, actually, here, one last thing I should mention that the anime, as far as I'm aware, never showed off, was that entire fight with the Centipede and everything was in a park.
I thought they mentioned it was on the outskirts of a park.
I don't remember them saying the word park specifically. I remember them saying like the outskirts of the town.
Maybe.
It's in a park in the manga.
I'm not entirely sure now.
They mentioned that it's specifically in a park, and no matter what direction they would run in, they'd end up running into a civilian area.
Oh.
So even if they would try to run away, that thing would chase them down, and there would be civilian casualties. Didn't matter what direction they went in.
Oh, crap.
Anyway, we have King calling them out, right as Bang is like, all right, fuck it, I'll throw away my life to put this thing down. But King starts calling them out. He called up the association, found out about the whole blast thing. There's also a little tidbit that the little receptionist didn't give out, which is that considering how close they are to civilian populated areas, they need to make sure that, there's no collateral damage by launching the thing.
Yeah.
And King just goes, yeah, I get it. I understand. So King, being the coward he is, takes courage and starts calling out the goddamn Centipede Elder. To which Saitama literally waits to the last minute to come out from behind King and give off his serious punch. In the meantime, King's just like losing his goddamn mind.
The King engine.
Yes.
In full effect.
Yes, the King engine is in full effect. Do you think it was Saitama's punch that did that thing to the Centipede? No. It was the engine. The sound alone. He was so scared, he just evaporated.
Oh my god. I think I would just love to see a One Punch Man fighting game with King as a character.
How would King even fight? He has no moves. All he has is just bravado.
He would be Dan Hibiki.
Yeah, but Dan can actually fight, though, with basic moves. King couldn't stand up, period. Like, he might be able to fight Moomin Rider if he really wanted to, and people of around that level, but at that point, other than that, I don't think he'd be able to take a B, definitely not an A, and no way he's taking an S.
Well, that's why I said it would be interesting.
The only way I can see it happening is if, like, the way he fights is just calling in Saitama to deliver the punches. And, like, his super or something is just him freaking out with the King engine, just beating like crazy.
Wait. Wasn't Phoenix right in one of the Marvel vs. Capcom games, and all his attacks were, like, displaying evidence pointing?
I think so. And I think the idea behind that was more like it's mentally killing them.
So
But
maybe King could psychologically kill them?
King's not good enough though. Here's what I want, all right? I want this to be one of his supers if he would become one, like a fighting game character. He forces you to sit down and play video games against him and he kicks your ass. He's like, all right, we'll settle this one-on-one. Slams down like an SNES and two controllers. And they're just going at it. And King's just using his two fingers on one finger on each hand to play and kick their ass. even better? No, you know what? Here, this is how this works. It's a custom-made game by King, and that's how the fight starts, is them playing on that, and you're playing the game within the game. Where King and the person he's fighting are actually like the characters that were custom-made. And when you get to the victory screen, it zooms back out of the TV screen, and the guy's just crying because he's lost, and King's just like, yeah, I did it.
Yeah.
I'm the best. I even gave you a handicap. He's got his two single fingers raising up in the air, just like, I gave you a handicap.
Let's talk about the season as a whole quite briefly. All in all, you said this was a 5.
I'd still say that, even with this final episode. I don't think it makes it much past a 5. Maybe 5.5. I feel like 6 would be really pushing it.
Maybe because I haven't read the manga and know all the slight differences, but I wouldn't say that incredible animation doesn't make or break the series. Granted, if it's great animation, it'll be better received. But if it's comes from the same material, has the same jokes set up in the same way, I will say maybe a 6.5, because granted, I could have used a tiny bit more Saitama this season. I felt like he got pushed aside for more world building.
Mm-hmm.
So I will say like 6.7 for me for this season.
My only argument with your statement there is that you're kind of ignoring the fact that the season before this, the first season, set a bar, and the second season has not met that bar. Like, in general.
Even storytelling wise.
I kind of had the same problem with you, where they went more with world building for this season rather than just full on, you know. And I get that you're adapting from the manga, but still, if you're going to go world building, you need to go full on world building with all of these characters, and you're leaving a lot of information out about them. If they maybe did like a companion like mini series where they had all of those mini events that go on that they're ignoring in the main anime, that would definitely help.
There's always OVAs which may come out over the course of the next 6-12 months.
But aren't OVAs just like an overall generalized version of the anime season, though?
No, because I do remember Sword Girl with Blood. I forget that one that we covered like a year and a half ago, where like her blood activates her sword.
Oh, Mirai, yes.
Yes.
Kyokei no Kanata. Beyond the
I
Boundary.
I know that one had a OVA about them at a pool, and
Yeah, but that was like side stuff that didn't matter because the series was already over. The series hadn't continued. It wasn't continuing.
so
That was like non-canon shit.
so maybe they will fill in gaps with OVAs, because I think One Punch One did that.
I don't think so. I don't remember those. I would personally say do a miniseries, kind of like what we did when we were doing like Haiku anime, like something like that, where like you have those like maybe 5-minute short bumpers or what have you of like these events that the character like other side characters have gone through. Give them their personality that you're not getting in the main story.
Actually, They were before season 1. No, they were after season 1.
Okay, so it was probably just to fill in the like 5-year gap or whatever we've had between the two
Uh,
seasons.
Actually, it was during the events of episode 4, during the events of episode 7, something about Fubuki and the Blizzard group. So, granted, there could be later this year, early next year, about like 5 or 6 OVA episodes filling in gaps.
I would personally prefer to like. I don't know if I consider that an OVA so much as I would like a miniseries, honestly. OVA to me is like you're basically cramming a season into a smaller portion or a season's worth of content, essentially.
So,
Um,
additional material wouldn't be an OVA for you?
I wouldn't consider it such. How do I want to put this? No, yes, it would be considered an OVA. The problem lies in that is the amount of content that's in it. I think with an OVA, in my mind, you're getting like. Remember when we did Hellsing?
Yeah.
And you watched the OVA and I watched the OVA and you watched the series. The OVA was 10 hours long, essentially, like hour-long episodes each. And they were cramming essentially the entirety of that series into a single OVA 10-part thing.
Okay.
So the amount of content in it, I think, for me, is what decides it. The Kyokai no Kanata stuff, again, you had what was essentially a movie there, in length, maybe a bit longer, with all of those episodes, because they weren't just your regular half-hour episodes. There's the Stardust Crusaders OVA, which skips over a lot of stuff from Part 3 that came out before the series did.
Granted, there's a few Higurashi OVAs that branch off into side stories.
That also take place after the events of, like, after the series had already ended and weren't
Okay.
canon. When I think of a companion piece, stuff that's expanding upon a series that is still currently ongoing when it's produced, I think of it more as like a side series or what have you, a series of shorts. And if they would add on to that as just like, as a side content piece, if you were to include those along with this, it would probably bump the score because you're filling in gaps that are missing in this stuff. You're filling in 4 characters who have been kind of had their wings clipped on who they are and what they do and what they're about. But we don't get that here. And between that and the fact that, like I said before, season 1 set a bar and season 2 has never met that bar or come close, I feel, it doesn't work as well. And I can't put things down with like the writing's the same and all that because it's coming from the same original writer. Yes, some things get flipped around and stuff, and whether that comes down to a director or if that's actually a writer's choice that's technically with the studio, I'm not sure. I'm not sure whose responsibility that falls to.
Well, we've gone on long enough on this.
It's true.
Before we start rambling into some side note about JoJo again, let's call it here. I don't know when we'll be doing this again. I do know for Food Wars, we will definitely do it.
Probably My Hero Season 4.
Which are both coming out around October.
That's going to be fun to juggle.
Oh, yay. Along with whatever animes we may be doing for Brandon's Discuss Anime.
Yada yada.
Watch Brandon's Discuss Anime, which might not be out as regularly this season, but I will supplement it with Movie Makers in its place.
We're shooting for once every other week. That's the goal anyway, but that may not always be the case due to just the length of some of these animes we plan to take care of.
Sometimes we may do 2 in a row.
If they're fast, we might. Who knows?
Maybe. But stay tuned for stuff like that. Watch our Yakuza 0 playthrough, which is going on now.
Like, favorite, subscribe, take a look at the bullshit, dingle the dongles.
And check out any food video that we may be posting near the end of this month. I have plans.
I'm scared. I don't like your plans. Do they involve peanut butter?
Actually, no.
Then what the fuck are you doing here?
Well, you'll see what the food plans are. Oh, you'll
I'm scared.
see.
I don't like it. I don't like your plans.
All right, later.
Somebody help me.